Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. Established in 2014, DeLuna Coffee is owned and operated by the Lemmix family. Ed, Courtney, and their son Brett. Ed graduated from FSU in 1979, Brett in 2009. Lifelong fans and Florida State boosters, the Lemmixes attend multiple football games every year where you can find them tailgating near the Unconquered statue. Pull up a chair and pour yourself a Palafox Place. Named after the main hub, Palafox Place in downtown Pensacola, DeLuna has combined a Brazilian, Colombian, and African bean to give it just the right flavor. This coffee can be enjoyed any time of the day. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What is up? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Use that promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount on your coffee order at DeLunaCoffee.com. People texting, tweeting, Azan, what do I go with, man? I'm not all that coffee. Well, just anything pretty much. But, you know, sometimes guys like Ed prefer and recommend starting off with maybe like a medium and a dark roast blend, Corey, something like the Midnight Shift. Which helps support the Pensacola Police's Rally Foundation cause that goes for childhood cancer research. It's a nonprofit, and a portion of all the sales of the Midnight Shift go to helping out and creating awareness and funds for childhood cancer research. So, I mean, start your day off, help your fellow man, help your coworkers, because you'll be performing better with coffee in your life. It's made me a little bit more easier to deal with. But, I mean, I don't have to, who's here to deal with me in the morning? Corey Clark's here, everybody. He works for Warchant.com. He's a senior lead writer. Promo code WARCHANT30, thumbs up, 5-star ratings and reviews. Corey grinding, dropping a pod on a Wednesday, but my guy on a Tuesday, live transcribing 3 interviews. I mean, do we need to get you another agent? Do you need to unionize? Irish O'Fell putting the screws to you, doing a Seminole headlines on a Tuesday in January, and then you do this podcast. Thanks for being here, man. Way to power through. I couldn't do it.
It's just what I do, man. Some people have the will to be great, and some don't. And I fall into the former category. It wasn't. I had to get up at like 10:15, which was a little tough. Get my mind right to transcribe for 45 minutes. Then went and had a nice lunch. Came back, did headlines, and now I'm talking to you here on beautiful Wednesday morning, the day of the Florida State Georgia Tech basketball game.
You heading down?
I will. I'll be going there with Brady
nice.
And a friend and his son. I actually bought a ticket and I got a media pass, so I can do a little bit of both. Have feet on both sides of the fence there, because I will, like, during timeouts I'll post updates and stuff, and then at the end of the game I'll go probably go back to their little press area. I don't even know. They might do actual press conferences. Some do, some don't. So I'll either do a Zoom press conference from the press row, which isn't really press row, it's up in the rafters, or press rafters, or I'll do an actual in-person interview with Leonard for the first time in 2 years.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm all about these Zooms. Nothing like being able to stay in your own house and just walk to another room and do your work, instead of getting in a car and trying to find a parking spot and,
yeah, you're right.
Possibly get rear-ended, blindsided, broadsided. Drivers out here just crazy.
Yeah, so many things can go wrong. And I'm driving in downtown Atlanta, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, I don't know what's going to happen on the show, but we're going to talk about Florida State athletics. That's what we do. On Tuesday, we did speak to another trio of newcomers. We're going to do it again on Thursday as well. It's kind of becoming a little bit of a tradition, unlike any other here covering the beat. We do appreciate it. It's kind of cool. I don't know if I want to dive into this part first. It is cool. I think this is really, I don't know how much of it's Mike Norvell trying to play 3D chess above all of us, but I was just thinking, like, talking to these guys, on Tuesday, all 3 of the dudes we spoke to are transfers, I get it. This is the way of the new world. If you are not a successful football team and you want to become successful overnight, you have to utilize this thing as best as you possibly can, that being the transfer portal. And I think everybody is embracing it. I think all the fans enjoy hearing from these guys and are really kind of rooting for them and hoping for the best. It just seems – I don't want to bring my dating life back into this, Corey, but it's just, it's like they didn't pick you. We weren't their first option. They went somewhere else, and now for whatever reason they find themselves here. And I get it. Like, some of us don't make the best first decisions, and then we end up being happy and, everything works out great. It just we're losing so much of the soul of the sport. This probably is the least bit of it or whatever. Or am I just being totally crazy about this? It's something about this kid. Michael's tweeting and texting you and talking about a kid that's a junior on junior day. He loves Florida State, and then signing day rolls around the next year, and he signs, and you're so excited, and then you see him kind of get some burn his freshman year, and you're hoping for him to make a big jump sophomore year, and he gets better. Like you follow when you're a fan, when you're a fanatic, like you really do invest so much emotionally into seeing these kids show up and be their best. Maybe that's not a big deal anymore. Maybe we're just so concerned about getting right that it's like, man, I don't care at this point. I mean, I'm fine with a mercenary for 7 months. Like, yeah, if they're all Jermaine Johnson, I'm cool with that. But they all are.
But don't you think Florida State's in a bit of a unique position? I don't know that there's going to be many other schools that have this many transfers. Like, they might end up with 14 or 15 in one class. I think that's going to be an anomaly. Number one, I don't think that's going to keep happening. But also, like, I don't know if there's any – like, I don't think that's going to be their plan going into every offseason is to get, 20% of the new roster as transfers. But also, I don't think there's any school in the country that has had more than them. So I get it from your perspective for right now because it's like, man, these last 2 years you've hit, 27 transfers, 26? And it's what I think you're losing is – but you were kind of – what we grew up with, and I shouldn't even say grow up with, because when I was growing up, I knew about Florida State's recruits when I got the preseason magazines and I looked in the back and it would say the top 100 players in the country, and I'd be, okay, how many of these guys are going to Florida State? That's how you kept that up with it in the 80s, really. There weren't that many ranking publications. But once Rivals and the other sites came along, around the turn of the century, and it became so popular, National Signing Day was fun. It was like Christmas for some people.
Yeah.
And it was fun to follow the ups and downs, trials and tribulations of a recruiting cycle. And, you have 25, 27 new kids you're bringing into the program, and you're so excited about all of those coming down to the wire and those decisions. Well, now, they're going to sign a class of 30 this year, but half of them are going to be kids you had no idea were even eligible to come to Florida State 4 months ago. So I think you lose that a little bit, just the fun of recruiting, because, again, like half of this class is going to be transfers that it wasn't like, you've been following the Jared Verse saga for 9 months. Who's he going to choose? Who's he down to? Yeah. So I think you lose a little bit of that. But, man, if they can play, you'll be fine with it.
You're right. And Florida State, we're really – but to the point you're trying to make, and I'm not trying to say that you're wrong because you're never wrong, Corey.
Thank you.
They're not the exception to the rule. I mean, they kind of are the rule. Oklahoma's got 9, Ole Miss 8, LSU 11, Southern Cal 12, Nebraska 12. Florida State right now has got 10. So Indiana.
Well, that's not true. They have at least 11, right? I thought they did. I thought the running back made them 11.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
But my point is they're gonna finish with 15. I don't know. Maybe those other schools will too. You're right. So, but what it's doing is it's probably hurting high school kids the most, right? Apparently, like if you have 30 open spots, are you going to take a kid and you can fill them any way you want? Are you going to take a kid that might contribute in 2 years? Or are you going to take a kid that contribute tomorrow? Especially if you're coaching for your job. Again, I don't know. USC, Lincoln Riley, that makes sense. He's a first-year guy. He's got a lot of open spots. And a lot of people are transferring out, so he's got a lot of spots to fill. But, again, you're not going to see Georgia and Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama loading up in the portal with like 14 kids because they are crushing it on or A&M. They're crushing it on the recruiting trail. They mix and match. That's where you want Florida State to get. Right now, they're in the same boat as all these other middling programs where you got to get better fast. And since this portal is opened up, this is a way to get better faster than just going the traditional route.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, it's not how we grew up for sure.
Yeah. And again, I'm not begrudging. I want this program to be successful. I want to go to bowl games. I want free gifts.
Right.
I want
You'd probably rather
rooms.
have you'd want Caden Lyles to be playing center for you next year as opposed to somebody else, right? He probably makes the line better.
Yeah, I know, but then part of me is like, man, like when you do with Maurice Smith. Like Maurice Smith, you sit for a year after you started an entire year. I mean,
Yeah.
That's the way life used to be, but who's to say that he doesn't maybe look to go somewhere else? Anyhow, so we did speak to three guys. We spoke to Caden Lyles, who transferred in from Wisconsin, a.k.a. the Nomad. It's not going to pick up steam, but it was just,
Yes.
just trying out here, everybody.
I thought you were going to say like Sunshine or Smiles.
Right. And then we also spoke to Bless Harris, who transferred in from Lamar. He's a Louisiana native, so there's a little bit of the ties there. I don't know what the Caden Lyles ties were. And then Tatum Bethune, who's been at UCF. He was recruited by Randy Shannon, I think, when he was in high school, maybe to go to Florida, but ends up at UCF where he was coached for a year or two by Randy. So we spoke to those three guys. I think what caught me by the biggest surprise, and when you talked about you kind of want Caden Lyles maybe to be your starting center as opposed to somebody else, I don't know how to feel about Maurice. I thought Maurice was kind of like a sneaky good football player, underappreciated, undervalued in terms of what his ranking was as a prospect. But to hear Bless Harris talk about, he's a guy that he'll play wherever. Everyone's got the right attitude, but like left tackle is playing tackle. Left tackle's probably a good starting point for him. You kind of start thinking about, well, dang, that means like Darius or Robert, one of you guys is not going to be playing. If this kid comes in and plays at the level that we think he is, and I don't know, man. Do you go into the portal to find depth? But that's what I found most interesting is that we spoke to Bless Harris, we spoke to Caden Lyles, and then you start kind of squinting and looking at a depth chart or looking in your mind's eye about the way this offensive line looked last year, and you're like, they could look radically different, which I guess is exciting because for all the progress they made, there's still plenty of room to grow. And you would think a fifth-year guy who's been playing in a Power 5 program in a Big Ten school, and maybe this Bless Harris guy who, we're going to think David Johnson's got a good feel for what he is, went to a smaller program in Lamar, but when he put his name in the portal, he became a pretty sought-after prospect. You got a new tackle, a new anchor of your offensive line, the center. Things change there, right? That's part of this whole let's get this offense working better. Obviously, receiver, but if you can win in the trenches, right, Corey, this can change things radically, quickly.
Yeah, and just judging from his disposition, he's a no-nonsense dude, right? Like if you guys go watch that video on our site, warchant.com, or on our Warchant TV page on YouTube, perfectly nice. Like he answered all the questions. He wasn't a grump, but he's a no-nonsense dude. Has the look, just like the face, the beard. He has the look of a guy that's a mauler, that's a strong dude that does not mind embarrassing you on a football field, which is awesome. You need those guys. Dylan Gibbons is a very outspoken guy, like a really kind of lovable dude. But he's still tough. Like he was one of the tougher ones on the team last year. So I think you're adding some toughness. You're adding experience. You're adding a chip on your shoulder. I like it all, man. I think you no matter whether he starts or not, he's gonna even if somehow Maurice Smith beats him out. I shouldn't say somehow. Caden Lyles is gonna make him better. Like Caden Lyles has been just like Dylan Gibbons, like through osmosis at Notre Dame. Imagine Caden Lyles rolling with that Wisconsin offensive line for the last 3 years. Like what he must have learned, the way a program like that, with the way its offensive linemen carry themselves, it's just different, man. Florida State's offensive linemen have been punching bags for 4 years, by teams, but by the media and the fans alike. Man, Wisconsin, they carry themselves a little different. So maybe you get that in with the guy from Notre Dame. Maybe next year you get a kid from Iowa. Maybe you get a kid from Penn. You just keep them that Midwest. Always bring in one or two guys from that area. I think that guy can be a real difference maker and turn an average. Look, they played better, but I think overall we'd say the offensive line was average, which is worlds better than it was before Atkins took over. But in relation to the rest of the country, it was probably an average offensive line. Well, now what if they're actually pretty good? What would we know what to do with ourselves if Florida State actually had a pretty good line? And I think when something like this happens, like Maurice Smith, I think is still owed a red shirt. But how good would it be for the betterment of the program and for Maurice Smith? He might not see it this way, but if he is a backup this year, what if he doesn't even play? And he just allows his body to grow like it's supposed to. And he's not beat up all the time because he's a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old playing grown men. He gets to get bigger, stronger, better, and learn from somebody that's better than him. And when he takes over, he'll be pretty darn good. And it just recycles itself. That'd be nice to see. But either way, you've added depth. Last year, like they talked about, if they had any injuries at all, no offense to the guy, but if you're going to the Brady Scotts of the world, you're in trouble. Now maybe you're not going to the Brady Scotts of the world. You're going to guys. You have 8 or 9 guys, maybe 10, that you feel have really developed and can play, and they're going to push each other, and they're going to be able to fill in when they inevitably get hurt, because they always get hurt.
All right, so big Caden Lyles guy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just something about that dude. Something about him. Just like, I want to be in the locker room with that guy.
He's seen a lot of things. I like to just.
Yeah, he has. I think his connection, by the way, is he from Scottsdale?
He said something about, Scottsdale, then he went to Madison. But I don't know if
maybe he knew Norvell and Dillingham like that way somehow from the Arizona days?
Possibly. That makes sense. Look at you. Look at you connecting the dots.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
And then what I found most interesting about Tatum Bethune was just him kind of admitting that he was from Miami and he probably wasn't the biggest Florida State fan growing up. But, hey, neither was Leon Washington. That worked out all right.
Right.
But then again, there's a guy, linebacker, talented, productive, at a position of need. So we spoke to positions of need and guys that are probably, at least two-thirds of the guys that we spoke to on Tuesday are probably in your starting lineup week 1 against the Dukes.
And I'd say this, too, about Bethune. Like, one thing that stood out, it's not like we watched him play on Tuesday. He just sat on his Zoom and talked to us. So, you can only impress really in one way. But the way he talked about being a leader and a talker, and he said he's always the last person to put his mouthpiece in before the play, meaning he's talking the whole time leading up to it. Theoretically, I assume talking to his teammates. But they need that, man. Like Deloach, I think, became that at the end of last year. He became like a vocal leader. And now if you add in another vocal leader, especially at that kind of position where you need to be vocal, that's, again, good news, man. Communication matters a lot. A guy knowing what he's doing and what other people are supposed to be doing, a guy that's played that much football, helps a lot. I compare it to like, it's probably not an apt comparison, but I'll make a run at it. Our man Harrison Prieto, on the Florida State basketball team. Like, he's clearly not the most athletically gifted in the world, but how much better is the Florida State defense just because he knows where to be?
Right.
You know what I mean? So much of every sport, but certainly football and basketball, you're going to get beat by guys sometimes because they're just faster and better than you. But if you're where you're supposed to be and not fooled, not out of position, it makes life so much harder for offenses. And this guy is, he talked about all the 100-plus tackles he made last year. Well, he was asked about it. He didn't bring it up. He wasn't wearing a shirt or anything. But he talked about, he was asked about the tackles. He's like, part of it is instinct, part of it is football instinct, part of it's watching film and knowing the plays and knowing their tendencies. Like, I just think you need smart, vocal guys on the ones that can play too, but it helps so much to have older guys that know where they're supposed to be. That's all. There you go.
Thanks, Corey. By the way, according to Pro Football Focus, Florida State ranked 42nd in the nation in pass blocking. Run blocking, not nearly as decorated. 121st. So
yeah, I gotta pick that up a little, which is crazy because they had that run of 5 straight games of over 200 yards rushing.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, was Jay Sean, was he just Dalvin, which we didn't know it?
Yeah, and Jordan Travis too. I guess they're doing all that on their own.
Thursday we'll be back at it. We'll get another trio of newcomers: Greedy Vance, who transferred in from Louisville, Deuce Spann, who transferred in from Illinois, and Johnny Wilson. Well, shoot, we're going to get a quintuplet. We're going to get 4 people. Johnny Wilson, who transferred in from Arizona State, the 6'7" receiver, and then running back Trey Benson from Mississippi, but via Oregon. We'll get them on Thursday. So be connected, warchant.com, and the YouTube page. Otherwise, Corey, looking at some things here, we know that the schedule is going to drop on Monday, 7 p.m., the football schedule, that is. So exciting times. We're getting closer. We can really start making definitive proclamations and predictions of what the season's going to be like. We turn to the Tribal Council, Corey. Guy Knoll started a thread that's got like over 2 pages of responses, but it's from Friday, so it wasn't like he posted it in a day. It just went on fire. But it's, I shouldn't even read it because he refers to Norvell by the acronym. I'm not the acronym guy, man. I'm not CMN. I'm not that guy. Just say Mike, Coach Norvell. If he wins 8+ games a season, what does Florida State need to do to make sure we keep him? And there's some civil bickering going on. It's great. There's one guy that is just like, I'm gonna block you. Some guy says 8 wins. Man, we'll be lucky if we get to 6 or 7. And somebody quotes that. Yeah, there's no way a team can improve from one season to the next. My ignore list grows. So that's how we get down the tribal council, everybody. We can't silence you. You can silence one another. But there's like this real growing sort of worry about what happens if, again, they're bringing in all these new pieces that are going to be performing. They're going to use these guys. This isn't just a fill out a roster. You are going to improve. And there's like this, now there's this anxiety about what happens if they do win 8 or 9, which I think when we see that schedule laid out, then you can start really, me being the guy that keeps saying, if you believe in this staff and you believe in what the rankings are saying these kids are in terms of them being transfers, like why wouldn't you think you could sneakily win 9-10 games? 9-10 bowl game. I got faith in Norvell. He'll win bowl games. I feel he'll coach him up. Do you think Monday, when you see the schedule laid out the way it's going to be laid out, will that make you have a better idea? I know you don't like predicting things, Corey, but we have to do it. It's our job. Will it give you a better idea of what this season could possibly be like, and what do you think about, do you want to alleviate any fears that if this guy wins 8 games, we're going to get outbid by, somebody else?
Yeah, I guess just cross that bridge when we get there. As far as the schedule, no, man. We talked about that on headlines. Like, I've never been one to like look at a schedule and be like, oh, well, that really crushes their hopes of doing anything substantial this year, because we know who they're playing. It's not like it's the NFL schedule and you don't know which other division you're matching up with. It's a surprise. I think it's a surprise. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. But either. But, you know who you're playing. So it's just a matter of how they're organized. Like, yes, you don't want to play Clemson followed by at NC State. But any game after Clemson's going to be tough. And any game before Clemson, you're going to want it to be easy because it's Clemson. But, at the end of the day, you're still going to have to play those games. And it's still going to be a pick 'em, or you might be an underdog in that game no matter whether it's how it's scheduled. So, no, I think maybe it could sway one win here or there based on one physical game right after another one, like one grueling game like Clemson right before Florida, which obviously they wouldn't do. That's a toughie. But other than that, and you hope you don't go a month without being on the road. Without being at home, You don't want 3 straight road games. Other than that, throw it all together, man. Like, you're hopefully not a Friday night game or a Thursday night game. I guess they don't do that anymore. But other than that, no, there'll be nothing there that'll be like, oh no, that's a. And what I pointed out on headlines was like, man, think about where we were last year when the schedule was released, going into the season. It's like, okay, that first month is manageable. Come out of that first month 3-1 because all those other games is where it gets tough. And it's like, man, they were 0-4. They had the worst month of anybody in the country. When you include the loss to FCS, and then they come back and actually do well in the second half against the quote-unquote tougher part of the schedule. So you never know, man, right?
No, I do think it's going to give a better, clearer picture for sure, because I do think it is going to matter how it is laid out. And listen, if somebody gets hurt, if somebody, I don't even know if it's Malik Cunningham coming back to Louisville, like maybe he ends up leaving, that obviously will change the calculus of things. But yeah, when we see it, I think then I can really start kind of wrapping my arms around.
But the game's the game, right? What would it mean to you if they played at NC State and then at Louisville? What does that matter? Both of them are going to be hard, right? Like who do you want to play in front of Louisville?
I could probably, I think, yeah, man. If that's the thing, if you think this program is growing and going in the right direction, then if you think no matter how it's configured, NC State, Louisville back to back, like it shouldn't matter to you because you should just believe in what this team is going to be. So I guess you are right in that point. But I just think
like Clemson, Miami back to back, it's issue, right? Like you don't want that. But otherwise, I think no matter how they do it, maybe a bye before one of those. But I guess it depends on where the byes are too. But yeah, I mean, it's so much of it. We just don't. It's so unknown in January. Who's going to be good? Who isn't?
I hope there are 2 bye weeks, and I mean, they haven't stopped doing Thursday, Friday night games. They do them. Just we haven't been in a Friday nighter since.
Do they do them still
Boston.
in the ACC? It seems like the ACC got away from them.
No, man, ESPN. North Carolina's like Mac Brown is playing on a Friday, like every Friday night. It seems.
Oh, right, you're right. Yeah, that's true. The Friday nights for sure.
But I don't remember Clemson being in one last year. Could be off on that.
No, I think they beat Syracuse on a Friday night.
Did they?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah,
I think so.
No, you're right. Yeah,
or lost.
Yeah, I was
they
home.
Won or lost. Well, there you go, Clark. What a
they won
brilliant
that.
statement.
No, they won that one. Okay. I remember I went home that weekend for some reason. Maybe we had an off week. I think it might have been when we had the off week because, I did get out of town. But, yeah, so Friday in 2017, and then we did them a solid by playing on a Monday night in 18. And then, obviously, 2020 was just, we got to play as many games as we can, so they didn't do anything crazy. But, yeah, 19 we avoided, and then last year, obviously, nothing too exotic. So,
Sunday nighter, right?
Yeah, Sunday night game against Notre Dame. So, I don't know. It's not Sunday. Is it Sunday against LSU? It is a Sunday against LSU, isn't it?
Yeah, come on, buddy. Absolutely.
Oh, man. But I just want to see it laid out because this thread, though, to the larger point, I think sometimes I've just been brutalized by, social media about like how negative I am and how cynical I am that I think that everybody just wants to hear everything's going to be awesome. But then you go in this thread and there's people that are like, man, are we really seriously talking about this coach who's had back-to-back losing seasons, pulling an 8-win season, and then he's going to hold us over a barrel to give him all this money? It's like, you guys can say that. I can't say that out loud because I sound like I'm being a jerk. But, man, rubber hits the road this season, though. He's going to coach in 2024, barring complete unmitigated disaster. I couldn't see this team going 2-10, 3-9, unless, I don't know, Jordan gets hurt and then whoever his backup is gets hurt, and then you're stuck with a third stringer that's either a true freshman or a guy that's looked very, disjointed when he's been thrown into the game. But then I don't even know, man. If you do go 2-10, they'd be like, well, hey, man, if you didn't get anybody else in the portal to shore up that position, so maybe all bets are off, but that's just really crazy talk. He does come back in 2024. And the fact of the matter is that, so whatever happens in 2023, he's going to be here in 2023. Figure it out.
I was wondering why you were skipping ahead a year.
I can't even keep track of everything. It's just been crazy. So 2022, obviously this upcoming season, he's going to be here in 2023. And so I almost feel crazy even talking about it because I do want to make a judgment on this, man. Like, I cannot keep saying we need to wait, we need the culture to flip, we need the roster to flip. Be patient, hold on, wait. I do think this season, with the way they're going in the portal, with every other sort of uncertainty at all these other programs that are going to be on the schedule in the ACC, which we're not a very strong conference right now, like, you're going to have a good idea. Now, he'll come back in 2023, and then he could totally wash the stink if he still isn't performing all that well. But I think that these threads where there's this sort of 50-50 split of he's the dude and 50 other percent being like, chill out already, that's going to swing decisively in one way after what happens this upcoming season. So
yeah, there won't be as much fence sitting.
Yes.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't say sometimes sitting the fence is like a negative connotation. Like I don't have the guts to make a decision or make my mind up. Well, I mean, I feel like most times it's prudent. Right now, there hasn't been enough either way to think this guy can get it done or he's the answer. This year coming up, absolutely, unless there is just a rash of crazy injuries. If this offense doesn't get substantially better, man, go get yourself a new offense because there will be no excuses now. You have a veteran offensive line with veteran players. You have better wide receivers. You have a quarterback that's been a year and a half starter. He's got 16 starts under his belt. You've got running backs that you brought in. If it's not substantially better in 2022 to the point is it's actually a strength, then that's why he was hired.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was hired because he had those high-scoring things at Memphis, and if you're in year 3 and you're still wallowing in the middle, then, buddy, you better go hire yourself. You better go pay Kendall Briles whatever he wants to come, or whoever, to come here and fix your offense, because I don't want to see that anymore. That, to me, is the biggest hurdle the guy has left. We know he can organize. We know he's, I think, a good leader. He has reshaped the roster and reshaped the culture. But, buddy, how about reshaping the end zone? How about getting more people in there? And that's what this year, to me, is all about. Obviously, the defense doesn't need to take a huge step back or a step back at all. But the offense has to get substantially better. And there's no excuse for it not to now. He's got legitimate Division I wide receivers. He's got a Division I offensive line. He's got a quarterback he believes in and a quarterback that's played a lot of football. It is time to make another step. So even if they go 7-5, but they average like 38 a game, I think people will be like, okay, at least there's something to believe in on the field with this guy. Not off the field, because he's great there. Not in the locker room, but actually the production on the field. There is something to believe in with this dude and his vision that we see tangible results. Wins are what matter most. But in my mind, the second biggest thing is scoring some points, because they were 100-something in the country 2 years in a row in scoring offense. That's got to be fixed.
And he's calling plays too, so
yeah,
that's going to be part of it as well. Yeah, I mean, when you are noted for something, when you're either a defensive-minded guy or maybe you need to hire a special teams guy, that just keeps you totally insulated. But then John Harbaugh worked out all right. But yeah, I mean, if you're the defensive-minded coach and your defense is getting slashed up, not a good look. If you're the offensive mind and you just have a really good red zone offense, but getting there is just an absolute challenge, not a great look. You know, it'd be a really cool offensive coordinator. Would be Sean Payton. Maybe we can see if he wants to come to Tallahassee. So that made me think him announcing that he was going to step away for a year. It was just like Jameis just broke my heart. You know, like Jameis, just the fact that he hasn't lived up to. Of all the things I've been wrong about, I probably haven't been more wrong about just how certain I was that Jameis was going to be awesome in the pros. Almost equally as terrible as I thought. Like Dak Prescott. I know he got drafted 4th round, but I covered him in Mississippi, and like everybody loved him in Mississippi, but it was just like, man, there's no way he's going to work out in the league. And then for half the season this year, he's like an MVP candidate, and I'm like, I was totally wrong on that. Like I totally missed that. I feel like he wanted to go somewhere in defending Jameis. So I was kind of being funny about that, but it's like, because look what's happened to Jimbo since they left each other. Now I know who made who. I think we can stop the whole Jameis made Jimbo thing. Not that Jimbo made Jameis.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't the other way around, though.
Oh, no. It was a great relationship.
Sure.
Jameis doesn't win without Jimbo Fisher being his head coach, and Jimbo Fisher doesn't win without Jameis Winston being his quarterback. It was a beautiful thing.
I feel like if Jameis had signed with Alabama, they probably would have won a championship when he was there.
I don't know,
They won one with his backup.
I don't know.
They won one with his backup, so probably. But what I was going to say is that, like, I think I would have liked to see what Jameis was like for a full season with Sean Payton, because it was trending in a pretty good direction. You know what I mean? And then he got hurt, and he was out for the year because he had better numbers than he had at Tampa Bay, at least efficiency-wise. And I would have liked to see what that looked like over the course of a season, because, I just think so much of his opportunity. Like, Dak Prescott came into the league where he had the best offensive line in the league and only had to throw 19, 21 times a game.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow got the shit kicked out of him on Saturday. He got sacked 9 times. He's got his team in the AFC Championship.
Oh, man, Joe Burrow is better than Jameis Winston. But I wouldn't have said, like, if Jameis Winston gets drafted on that Cowboys team and is the quarterback for that Cowboys team and isn't asked to throw 40 times a game and throw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. If he's not asked to do that, if he's a game manager type, maybe his career pans out differently. It's not like Dak that first year or two had to go. They won games on his right arm. And then it's all, what's his name? Trent Dilfer talked about that. Like he lost all confidence after a couple of seasons. That does matter. But yeah, so I would have liked to see more than anything. I just would have liked to see Winston with a whole year of Sean Payton and what that looked like if he could have resurrected his career. But you know what? He was still better than the other guy that was drafted right behind him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. This was really a tongue-in-cheek segment, but Corey's...
Sorry, buddy.
held up the defense of the Jameis Winston people that listen to the show. I love Jameis.
You know.
I'll always be appreciative of what he did. It hasn't worked out in the NFL. I don't know how you can say anything otherwise. It just hasn't. I get it. He threw for 5,000 yards. He also threw 30 interceptions.
Man, that might not ever happen again.
Just crazy.
Might not ever happen again.
But just like, man, like look what happened to Jimbo after they left. Lovie Smith ends up looking like Santa Claus. He's unemployed. Dirk Cutter, unemployed. Bruce Arians doing all right. And then Sean Payne's like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, but man, that's Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
Who wants to coach Taysom Hill?
Right. But then it started making me think about, we keep been hearing all this stuff about Joe Burrow, and people asked us, a few weeks ago about who's better, 19 LSU or 2013 FSU. And my fear is now that with Joe Burrow doing so well, like 2013 FSU is going to be forgotten largely on a national scale. Although I don't know if we ever did a good job. You guys did a really good job talking about it on headlines and making us all kind of rally around it as fans. I remember listening to headlines like in 14 and 15, 16 when the guys started actually matriculating into the pros and doing really well, and you're like, dang, man, like that team was stacked. Because I'm like Joe, and I watch Joe Burrow, I'm like, man, like kind of like Joe Burrow. Kind of think I would have liked if he was my quarterback too.
And also think of who he was throwing to too. Like that offense. I mean, that's about as good as it'll ever be, right? You had a great quarterback throwing to those two wide receivers. Holy moly. Like they're better. Benjamin and Green they were good players, very good college players, especially that year.
They're great. They're Hall of Famers.
Who do you have? Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and who was the other one? I know Randy Moss's kid was the tight end, and he wasn't even that good for them, but it was like
Thaddeus.
They had another wide receiver that was awesome. They had the running back that's with the Chiefs. I mean, that was an all-time offense, just an incredible offense.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Terrence Marshall. Terrence Marshall Jr. Was the other receiver. You say that, and I pull it up, and this is, I'm as guilty as anybody. And, when everybody starts thumping their chest, I'm the guy that's kind of like, hey, everybody chill out right now. But we should probably thump our chest a little bit more. I pulled up the stats. I got both of them here. I'm not going to read a whole bunch of it because I listen to other podcasts, and they just go on these 45-minute long rants where, just like they say 20 different stats. Like, man, I can't keep up with all that. Man, Florida State was second in the nation that year in scoring offense. 51.6 points per game. LSU was first, and they averaged 48.4. The only real big thing that LSU has, obviously, is like they played 7 ranked teams. Florida State only played 5. And, Maryland and Duke.
Maryland was one of them. Yeah, I guess Duke was too. Right?
And all the ranked teams that LSU played were all top 10 teams at the time. Like Texas, Florida, Auburn, Bama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson. I mean, that's just crazy. But they barely beat Auburn, though. So they do have like that one, they had to kind of slug it out. They won that one 23-20. Yeah. So all this to say, I think we have to root for the Rams. And although my brother's a Niners fan, sorry, brother. Like we have to root for the Rams, and we need to see Jalen Ramsey do really well. And hopefully Joe Burrow throws like 4 picks, and then we can kind of rejuvenate the 13's better than 19 team, and then we can just keep fighting on that hill. It's just gonna be mass casualties. No one's ever gonna win that battle, but we do need to replenish the soil of freedom and 2013 defense. Because
I think what Florida State fans are bothered by is that 13 Florida State never even comes up.
They don't. Yeah.
That it's 0-1 Miami. It's one of the.
It's crazy.
8 Alabama teams.
2001 Miami wasn't that good. Like they were talented beyond all belief. Their talent was amazing. I shouldn't say they weren't all that good. I don't apologize. Get over it, Miami fans. At least you won the national title, but you didn't steamroll everybody. Like in terms of like the way they looked every Saturday, they did not look anywhere near as dominant as LSU did or Florida State did. Now, if you look at who's on that roster and what they became and who they were, it's incredible. You get envious. Carry on.
I think the one difference is the quarterback. I mean, nobody would argue that Dorsey is on the same level as Jameis or Burrow. But man, yeah, I mean, we think they struggled. They really only struggled 2 out of the 13 games. The one was the really weird one against Boston College, and then the other one was the Virginia Tech game at the end of the season where they outgained them by like 250 yards, but it came down to the wire, which matters. It counts. But yeah, they almost lost twice. What would you say? Florida State almost lost once, unless you want to count the at Boston College game where they were down 17-3. And the LSU team, well, you probably only lost. They came close to losing once or twice, probably that year too. I think Florida State's defense was better than LSU's. I think LSU's offense was better than Florida State's. Had more talent anyway. And then special teams, I know nothing about the 2019 LSU special teams, but I'm going to go ahead and say Florida State's was better. Yeah, you're the best kicker of all time. Yeah. And you covered kicks well. And your punt returner caught everything. R.I.P. Kenny Shaw. I don't know why I said R.I.P. You're still alive, but I don't know where your football career is. I assume you're still not playing. Maybe you're coaching somewhere. I hope you are.
I think he's playing CFL ball, if I'm not mistaken.
Still? But that dude, he not only caught every punt, it was the most calm thing anybody's ever done. It was like me ordering Uber Eats. Like, he had no stress at all. It's just like, oh, here's the ball, let me catch it. He was just a natural catcher of the football. So you never had any, like, it stopped right then. Like, once he left, starting the next year, it was fumbles galore, really, for the next 7 or 8. But Kenny Shaw, man, was just so relaxed when he was catching the ball. He never even bobbled it.
Yeah.
Never even bobbled it. So we didn't appreciate you when we had you, Kenny, as a punt returner.
But what about Case and Beatty, though? Does he drag down at all? I want to watch every game from 2013 with Case and Beatty, like every snap, and then we'll just be so excited. And whenever he punts, we'll just be like, what happened there, man?
Yeah, great holder, though. Yeah. Don't overlook his holding.
This is true.
Big part of the deal.
But yeah, LSU averaged like 50 yards more of offense before.
Well, man, how many? I assume they averaged about 14 or 18 more plays, at least. That was the thing about Jim. That
never, nothing good enough. Nothing ever good enough, John James.
For what they did, for as slow as they went to put up those numbers, is mind-boggling. I would have to imagine points per play and yards per play. It has to be one of the most astronomical numbers of all time. To put up that many points running that few plays is nuts. It's crazy. And to think about, like, midway through the third quarter, they were never playing that first team offense. But it gets lost in the shuffle, and it always will. Same with that game. Like, that Florida State Auburn game was an all-timer. And it just went straight into the ether after it happened. Like, oh, well, I guess we won't talk about that ever again. Which is crazy because it had 3 lead changes in the final 3 minutes. Came down to the last play. Anyway, hey, speaking of that, so I think we gave the Bills grief for kicking it deep with 13 seconds left on the clock.
Grief, but we didn't mention that maybe they shouldn't have.
When did Florida State score the game-winning touchdown against Auburn? Wasn't it 13 seconds or 14 seconds?
Oh, good call. I'll see if I can pull it up or whatever here.
And I know for a fact they kicked it off and Auburn returned it. Because I wrote a story about it after the game. Like, Aguayo's kickoff was just absolutely perfect. It was into the right corner, probably about 5 feet from the pylon and about a yard deep. Like, he probably could have boomed it through the end zone, but they intentionally wanted him to kick it high enough where they had to return it. Because their kick coverage was so good that year, they weren't worried about that. And if he angled it in the corner, they were going to run off 4 or 5 seconds returning the ball, which is exactly what happened. So Auburn only had 2 plays to run from their own 15 with 10 seconds left or whatever it was.
I know, but didn't the Chiefs still have like 4 seconds before they kicked? I mean, they didn't kick that field goal with only 1 second left on the clock, I don't think.
No, but like, think about if you squib it and the guy picks it up at the 9. He's not going to run it back 91 yards. If he runs it back to 13. The 30.
You were right, by the way. 13 seconds left on the clock.
How about that? How about the symmetry there? And Jimbo Fisher decides, I'm not kicking it out of bounds. I'm kicking it deep. I want him to waste time. But if the Chiefs run it back, to the 25 from the 9, what does that take, 3 seconds?
At least.
Maybe 4?
Yeah.
Well, there's no way you can get those 2 plays in those 9 seconds from the 25. Maybe. It would have been really close, man. I do not know if they tried the Kelsey play if there were only, would there have been 6 seconds on the clock? I don't know if you tried that, man, because that's asking a lot. Also, couldn't you just let them run and then the clock runs out? Anyway, it was really dumb to kick it deep. That's all I'm saying.
And then Sean McDermott said it was an execution issue, which is like, well, but It wasn't like it was a bad squib kick. Like you didn't squib it. So because I think he was asked whether or not they called for it to be squibbed, and he was just like, yeah, it was an execution problem. Same way like the Bucs ran like a 0 blitz, but not everybody blitzed.
Right. They weren't even ready. Like half of them weren't even ready for the play to be snapped. The execution issue, maybe it being a communication issue, like the kicker didn't get it. But and I don't particularly like squib kicks because so many times the up back gets it at like the 40.
That's the thing. Yeah, squib kicks, you're probably not feeling that at the 9. You're probably feeling it much closer to the 25 than you are the 9. So
we talked about it on headlines, and somebody said that because I was thinking, why not just kick it like really high to the 8?
We call fair catch. Clock doesn't run until they touch the
ball,
right? So
the NFL, you do have fair catches then, even when you're not in the end zone. I could not remember that. You can tell I don't watch a lot of Falcons these days. I couldn't remember if the NFL could fair catch kicks that weren't in the end zone, or fair catch kicks. Period. But you can't fair catch a squib kick, right? Isn't that the rule?
I mean, I would
think
so. It's because it's hitting the ground.
Yeah. So, but I mean, what else is a kicker doing all day? That should be a drill they run once a week. Like, hey, man, we just scored with 13 seconds left. We want them to have to use 4 seconds on this return, or 5. So squib it in a way where he has to go and get it, where the ball is going to go dead at the 6. Figure that out. Do that for the next hour and a half, Johnny. That's all we care about. I don't care that you're making kicks when nobody's watching. Work on your squib kick where it dies at the 6. And Tyreek Hill wasn't even on the field. Anyway, I just felt bad. As a Braves fan, I was really rooting for the Bills.
Yeah.
I was hoping this would be their year because, the Chiefs just won it a couple years ago. They have Mahomes forever. You can say, yeah, they got Josh Allen too, but you never know, man. That might be the closest the Bills ever get. Anywho.
Well, they were in the AFC Championship game last year, so they were actually closer to the sun last year than they were this year. Do you think Todd Bowles watched a Jacksonville State game and that's why he didn't play prevent?
Yeah, that's funny. Again, I don't mean
there's
to bring up
no right
everything.
answer, Corey. Right? There's no right answer.
Well,
I beat up Manny Diaz for not blitzing Jordan Travis on. Not that I cared, but it's like if I was like a Miami fan, I would have been like blitz, like throw, Hellstone,
make him get rid of the ball quick.
Yeah, like throw it, but they didn't. And then I guess you didn't correctly do your 0 blitz, so it maybe be hard to sort of explain it away. But in that situation, like, yeah, you're going to have a safety covering a really good wide receiver. It's like, good luck with that. It's just 13th, we need a 12th defender out there. Just got to make this thing fair.
Right. And I think with the when it comes to the Chiefs, because people compared it to the Jacksonville State game too, like the Bills defense was kind of in the same predicament as the Florida State defense was, and their prevent was too preventative. And it was too wide open, especially I don't know what that guy was doing on the right with Kelsey, playing the sideline as if that mattered. They had timeouts, so it didn't matter if he got to the sideline. But so like the difference being, Adam Fuller played like a normal defense in that spot because he didn't want Jacksonville State to get in line for a field goal. But the difference is the Chiefs have they have a pro kicker, a really good kicker that if you get to the 40, he's got a really good chance of making it. All they got to do is get to the 40. He's probably going to make that kick. He's good, really good. The Jacksonville State had a kid that had never made a field goal in a college game. If he's able to make a 47-yarder at the Horn at Doak Campbell Stadium because you were backed up too much, all right, man, good for them. You're still going to overtime at home. You just can't lose the game on that play. That was the point I was trying to make. So there were minor differences between the Kansas City drive and the Jacksonville State one.
And point I was trying to make, and a lot of this has been tongue-in-cheek. We're wrapping the show up here, just trying to give you guys something to listen to and gals, something to listen to on a Wednesday. Like, do you think if Florida State would have done a cover 0 blitz and Jacksonville State scores, like, would Adam Fuller have been off the hook? If he would have ran,
oh no,
if he would only rush 2 and drop 9, and they did some sort of crazy hook and ladder play, or they had a guy that just ran by everybody like Tyreek Hill. Like I say, like, I make these sort of decisions in my head. I'm like, this is what I would do if I was a coach. So that's why I was never all that harsh on Adam Fuller, because I didn't remember that Jacksonville State's kicker had no experience. So I'm like, you do kind of have to worry about them setting up for a field goal and going to overtime. And everybody's yelling at me, who cares? Like, go to overtime. It's an FCS team. You're more talented. You'll beat them. Don't worry about that. But I feel like it's so, we second guess so many things, and it's not one of these things where it's like, oh, we don't really know. We're not coaches, but it's like do we sit here and we just let it play out and then we're like, yep, well, it didn't work. Well, this is why it didn't work, and that was stupid for them calling it. Like, you do have to make a decision before anything happens.
Yeah, I guess in that instance, I hear what you're saying, but, well, you weren't in the press box with me.
I wasn't.
I was saying it before the snap, like, what are they doing? So I was in that instance first guessing it. Yeah, a lot of this job is second guessing it. But I first guessed kicking the ball a touchback in the Bills game, and I definitely first guessed that defense they were running against Jacksonville State. And one of the biggest gripes I have about that play is that it was as dumb as Fuller's defense was in that moment, in my opinion. Jacksonville State's play call was dumber. Like, it's not like they threw it into the end zone. No. So all that has to happen is that kid catches the ball at the 11? And if he's pushed out of bounds, the game is over. They had a chance to get in a field goal range. They had a chance to throw a Hail Mary. They didn't either. And they still somehow won the game and got to celebrate on the field. Like, it was as throwing what would that be, a 40-yard, basically, I don't know, out, flag route, like whatever it was. Why would you be angling?
He just ran 3 verts, man.
But he was angled toward the sideline. Like, he wasn't running towards the end zone. He caught it at the 15. So if he's tackled in bounds, the game is over, or the 12 or whatever it was. But yes, still, I get it. That's what, it wasn't like, sometimes you're going to lose on a Hail Mary. It just happens. Or you lose with 28 seconds left where a kid makes a great cutback. If that had happened with 30 seconds left, you're like, well, that was not good, but what defense was he supposed to be in? But we make a play, Brownlee. But in that instance, it still irks me that it was such a dumb offensive play call or decision by the quarterback to throw that pass, because the game is over as soon as he throws that pass, and he didn't even throw it into the end zone. The kid had to make a catch, and then he had to make sure the Florida State cornerback had to have a brain fart. The safety had to run too far over to the left, and that's how they won the game. Still bothers me. Still 6-6, guys. I'm still saying the 2021 football season was a 6-6 season. Those kids deserved a 6-6 season.
Do you think Adam Fuller thinks about that every day? Maybe not every day, but just at least like twice a week.
Yeah. Don't you, man?
No.
Or is it like one of those things, like one of your embarrassing moments, you just
flush it.
You flush it and you cram it way down, and you don't ever speak about it or try to think about it. Like, you cram it way down in there.
It was the saddest day for me, because I think that was the last vestige of me being a child, me being an adolescent, me being a rowdy 20-year-old, just die-hard Florida State fan just left my body. Because when it happened, I'm just like, wait, did they just lose? Like, that's it. The game is over now, right? Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. All right, got to get ready for the press conference now.
Yeah.
And my life went on. Just like my life went on after we won the 2013 National Championship game. I thought my whole life was going to change. I thought beer was going to taste better. I thought, cheesecake was going to have less calories. I just thought everything was going to change, and nothing changed. Felt great. Nothing changed. Life went on.
All right, there you go.
So,
you're growing up. You're growing up. You're all grown up.
It's boring, man. All right, we're going to do one more show for you guys. We'll probably have a thread up on the Tribal Council called Renegade Express. Post your comments and such, and we'll get to them. Don't forget Jeff Cameron coming up 1 to 3 o'clock, and then if you want to put it on your calendar, Monday at 7 o'clock we'll be having a live show. Corey probably won't be involved because he's a father. He's a responsible father. He's father of the year 2021 coming off of that, so he's got to keep it up, keep defending his crown. But we'll have some sort of duo trio of us breaking down the schedule. So it's the off season, quote unquote, but we're still working, we're still grinding. And yeah, later on, what time is the game? What time's tip off against Georgia Tech?
9 o'clock.
No, another, really?
Yeah, buddy. Yep. 9 p.m. So I'll get home around midnight.
All right, can't wait. All right, put on some DeLuna then. He's Corey.
You got it.
He's Corey M. Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DelunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.